Okay, so you sent out the press release today about the changes you're making in regards to the history curriculum here. Can you just kind of give me a brief overview of those changes?
Right. Look, we're unapologetic here in Oklahoma. We want our kids to know American history, understand American exceptionalism, and be American patriots. So when they're studying our history, we want them to have the full scope of American history. And President Trump put out an executive order changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And so we are going to change that in our history standards. Look, that is the new name of the Gulf of America will be the new name. So our kids will know that moving forward. We love this move from President Trump. It emphasizes American exceptionalism and the power of this country. And we're going to make sure that our kids understand the president has made these changes. So moving forward, we will continue to work with the Trump administration to put his agenda forward here in the state of Oklahoma.
Is there going to be any cost associated with this in terms of like textbooks or maps?
No, good question. No. So what we do also with the standards is we put out materials with them. So what we will do is online, we will put materials that coincide with these changes. So as we roll out new standards, one of the things we do, and you'll hear us use this phrase a lot, is curriculum frameworks, where we will produce the materials so districts can either print them off, show them online, share them with students directly. So we provide those resources with these changes. So it makes it very seamless for schools. And as you know, a lot of schools now, frankly, even the textbook companies, hey, sometimes they don't have textbooks that align directly with our standards. So we always produce our own material to say, schools, you can use those textbooks and use this supplemental material, or you can just use these supplemental materials and not use these textbooks. But we give districts that flexibility, but we always produce those materials so that schools have them at their fingertips.
We've heard from some different countries that the Gulf of Mexico will be the term that they're using. So how are you going to broach that with students? How are you going to explain to them that it's one way here and something else somewhere else?
Look, and look, that happens from time to time, right? You can point to the metric system, things like that. But here's what we want our kids to understand. We want them to understand the world around them. We want them to understand where America fits in that world. And here's the reality: we are Americans. We are most concerned with American history, American sovereignty, and so those are conversations we have with kids. Of look, there's different perspectives from around the world, but we are Americans. Here is what makes our country the greatest country in the history of the world. Here is our history, so they learn to appreciate and love America. And also, here's the history of other countries. So you can understand kind of their perspective on things as well. We want them to have that. But ultimately, it's so incredibly important that kids understand what makes America great, what makes us exceptional, and again, understanding our history and why we do the things that we do here.
I know President Trump, he's been real busy this week.
Yes.
Is there, and you're obviously jumping on this right away. Are there any other changes that you're anticipating to be made as a direct result of President Trump's changes?
Look, I do. Here is a state, we have eliminated DEI in our schools, so we were a leader on that. We love that President Trump is doing this across the board as well. We love the steps he's taken with illegal immigration. Again, we put out a statement upon his election that said, look, we will not allow schools to be sanctuary schools anymore. We will turn over information to the Trump administration so that they can make decisions on where illegal immigrants are, how big the problem is. So we have already announced that we're going to do those things. President Trump is doing that nationwide, so we're happy to work with him on that. And look, we're going to make sure that his policies are enforced. Look, President Trump has a clear mandate. And frankly, here in Oklahoma, every county voted for President Trump. So we are here to work with the Trump administration on their immigration policies, on their education policies. And so here in Oklahoma, we're going to continue to work hand in hand with that Trump administration. And look, we're in weekly conversations with them. We will have announcements in the future on some things that we're going to partner with them on. But listen, we're incredibly excited. We love the President Trump's direction. We think it's what's best for our kids and families and all Oklahomans. So it is a very positive step for Oklahoma and Oklahoma schools with President Trump back in the White House.
And given that schools are no longer a sanctuary, do you anticipate a raid happening? I know you said you're working closely with the administration, but are we at the point where we're going to be having ICE raids at our schools?
Look, we're going to work with the Trump administration on any way that they see fit to enforce their immigration policy. And I don't know the specifics of how he wants to carry that out. But what I will tell you is we're going to no matter what they decide and how they decide to carry that out, we're going to work with them. We're going to help them enforce it. But the first step really is getting them the information. And that's part of what they flagged as, hey, look, schools haven't been working with law enforcement on this. Well, look, in Oklahoma, we're going to work with law enforcement. We are going to work with the Trump administration. So the first step is getting them that information so that they can make informed decisions. So we're going to do that. And then, however, President Trump decides to carry out the actions around his immigration policy, we're going to absolutely work with him on that. We're going to make sure that he has what he needs from us to carry those things out.
So you're not completely ruling out a raid on an Oklahoma school?
No, if that's what if President Trump sees fit as there's illegal immigrant population there that needs to have enforcement to remove them from the schools, absolutely. We will work with him to make sure that he's able to carry that out.
And I know you've been looking into this issue for a while now. Do you have any numbers in terms of how many students are here illegally?
That is a great question. And it's unfortunately more complicated than it should be because remember, the Biden administration has prevented us from asking parents directly whether they're in this country legally or not. So that has caused mass confusion on numbers. Where are the illegal immigrants? So what we've had to do is take the information that's been voluntarily given to us. By that, we think the low estimate is around 4,000 students, but we think it could be quite a bit more than that. But that is the best kind of low ball number we have from voluntary information given over to us by parents.
There's been a lot of pushback from various groups. And I know you've talked about this before. This isn't something new to you. Various groups here in Oklahoma that are saying that, that's just wrong. What is your response to that?
Well, my response to that is this. We have left-wing groups that continue to fight a clear mandate from President Trump. We just had an election. We just had a public discussion over this issue, and Oklahomans have made their position crystal clear. They want illegal immigration under control. They want the border shut down. They want President Trump to be empowered to lead, to carry out his agenda. So we are unapologetic on working with the Trump administration. We are proud to work hand in hand with President Trump to carry out the agenda of the American people. And so we will not let some far left protesters or activists deter us from that. We just had an election. President Trump has a clear mandate, and we're going to make sure that that is enforced.